Well, good evening, everybody. How are we doing tonight? Did we say dry out there today? My goodness. It was crazy. I've never seen some of the kids leave after school. I'm like, oh no, hope you don't get yourself wet for the concert. Everything's good. So everybody's here, everybody's safe, I think, and everything's all good. So I'm glad to see that. Welcome to our first of our two finale concerts. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Marzola. I am the director of bands. You will see our esteemed colleague, Maestro Haim, later tonight with the orchestras. Just a couple of things we always talk about before we start. Number one, make sure all cellular devices are turned off and out of sight. Two, a couple times in the concerts in the past, we've sometimes had talking in the audience, so just as a reminder, it's a distraction to the students and what's going on stage if we have conversation. So keep that to a minimum or at nothing if possible, just to support our kids on stage. A couple of big thank yous before we move on to our next pieces here. First, I'll tell you about our first piece. That was, of course, Cameo's Word Up. Our last concert, sometimes we play some pop tunes just for fun. That's just a little arrangement. It started out with Sterling Garrett on the drums, starting off the show for us, so a solo for Sterling. It's the fun little light-hearted way to get us started. Big thank yous we have going out. First off, before I get to anybody else, I want to give a big shout out to our incredible department assistant, Elle Wynn. Here's Elle playing with us. They don't need to be acknowledging them. They deserve it. They probably went off stage now and say, don't point me out, but they have been such an amazing godsend this year. I mean, so many things from the programs you see in front of your hands to playing with the students in both, or all 5 of the ensembles, give or take, different points. Yeah, literally all of them. Or is there 6? There's 7 ensembles. Yeah, my goodness, 7 totals. There's jazz, 3 bands this year. So they have been an amazing godsend. Also, a big shout out to Diana Druschel. She is an unsung hero around here. She helped fold and copy all of the programs in the background and help set up and tear down, even though that's not part of her job, just because she loves this program so much. She's an alum herself. So a big shout out to both Elle and Ms. Druschel for all that they've done. Let's give one more applause to those guys. Big shout out to the people who help our school run smoothly, our custodial staff, our security staff, our administrative assistants, and of course our administrators. We have Superintendent Kirby, the entire Board of Education, Toya Robinson, who is our direct head of the board. Our principals, Dr. Towns is our lead principal, then our division principal is Stephanie Thomas. And also a big shout out to the people keeping us safe tonight, the security monitors. We have Ricky Waters and his team, Mr. Manning here at the high school. And one last big shout out to the people who make these things run and look and sound great. That is our auditorium extraordinaire, Mr. Keith Newman, and his student assistant. So a big round of applause for all those people who help support our kids. More thank you coming later. I'll save that for a little bit later in the program. I want to get moving on with our music. The next piece we are going to play for you is a nice little band tune. It's got some minor keys. We talked about minor this year. This group, some minor scales, some modes, that kind of thing. And this piece is called Apophis. To say I'm proud of how far a lot of these guys have come the last 2 to 3 years, because in 4 years, because we have sophomores, juniors, and seniors up here, one ninth grader as well. Just the stuff we have accomplished this year has been amazing. And if some of you have a junior or a sophomore out here and you heard what it sounded like last year to this year with these players, it is quite remarkable. And you're going to hear that now. Probably the strongest in our last piece. This is a version of John Williams' famous Raiders March from the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Give these guys a round of applause.
That, of course, is one of the all-time great movie themes from Back to the Future. And then the second piece we were playing for you, you notice we're only playing 2 pieces versus 3 because this one's actually quite a bit longer, so it kind of makes up for a lot of everyone else making 2. It's a nice lengthy piece by one of our favorite composers, I think, within the department, so one of mine, Randall Standridge. You're gonna get all kinds of time signatures, different extended techniques, things that I think a lot of students didn't even dream or knew were possible before they got here this year. It's the fact that they started from square 0 and square 1 from day 1 to now. It always amazes me. I was telling the kids earlier, we have not only some of the best students in the school, but maybe some of the best students anywhere. So I'm super proud of them. You're gonna enjoy this. Yeah, give that a round of applause. We have some of the best kids in So you'll hear some of this fine work they've given. This is C-141 Starlifter. It's about a plane basically that launched some, I think it was a satellite or another plane into space. It was like a space plane. So the whole idea is you're looking up into the stratosphere with the way the music is rising and doing its thing as it goes.
get our string playing friends out here, so it's not true intermission, but we're pausing. We'll have the rest of the concert going. Thank you.
Don't they sound good? Ooh, this mic is hot. Okay, so lovely to have you all here. Welcome to our first of two finale concerts. Sorry, a little sweat on my here. I was moving some things around here on stage with some friends. We're very excited because not only do we get to hear these two orchestras tonight, but then we get to hear all of these kids in these 4 ensembles, 2 bands, 2 orchestras together at the end. It's going to be really cool. We hope you enjoy that. But before we get to that, we have a few pieces to get to with the orchestras. So that first piece, Viking, by Sunhi Newbold, is obviously supposed to evoke a Nordic sort of rough character to it, and we hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed being able to play the tom for a change, that was kind of fun. And so now for this next piece that we're going to do, a piece by one of the great patron saints of school orchestra music and educational string playing, Richard Meyer. We're going to play a really cool piece of his called Sahara Crossing. So now we're going somewhere a little bit warmer and sunnier. All right, we hope you enjoy this one. That piece gave them an opportunity to work on so many more advanced things than we were able to do at the beginning of the year. We got to work on getting more tone color, loud and soft, but we also got to work on some new tonal vocabulary, some new pitches. So things that we start out playing on Violin, viola, cello, bass. We usually start in the key of D major, then we migrate to the key of G major, maybe a little C major. These guys are playing in G minor, a lot of this stuff, which is not easy. So they were playing some B flats and E flats, things that are, for where we started at the beginning of the year, very advanced. So these guys have come a long, long way since August and September, and I'm really proud of them. So nice job, concert orchestra. You can applaud. So we're going to finish off with another piece by Richard Meyer. Very different kind of piece though, called Night Rider. This one is different because it's in 3/4, but it's a little faster. And bowing in 3/4 is a little trickier for string players because we only have 2 bow directions, but when you have 3 beats, that gives you a lot of room to have uneven bowing, and you have to deal with all those technical issues. So I could spend a long time talking about it, but you'd be asleep. But we hope you enjoy this Night Rider. It's a really cool piece. It's also got something in the middle section where they get to hit the stick of the bow on the string, and it makes a really cool sound. It's called colegno. So here's Night Rider. right, so the concert orchestra is going to take seats down here in the front 2 rows of the auditorium on each side. Violins will go over here, viola, cello, bass will go over here. We've done this before. And then Philharmonic Strings will take their seats here in a moment, and then we'll continue with that part of the program. So give us about 2 minutes and we should be ready to go. Thank you very much. So it's been a theme this year. We've been talking about it a little bit in our concerts too, working on and understanding how to develop better bow technique. And it does start from the beginning, but as you get more advanced, you start to realize how much more of it your advancement has to do with using your bow really well. And they have really gone a long way with their spiccato, their bounced bow strokes. Sounds really clean. They're playing it really well together. And it's just a fun piece rhythmically too, because we get to play in lots of different meters, 3/4, 2/4, 4/4, and some parts even written a little bit like 6/8. So it's just a fun piece for us to play. Next piece we're going to play, the Air, is actually from a piece that has 2 movements, and is written. It was actually written for a string orchestra competition, or a string orchestra composition competition even, and it won the first prize for it, the grand prize. So it was a really great piece for orchestra, written for string orchestra educationally, and I think it does a lot of great stuff for us to work on phrasing. These guys are working now on shifting too, which we weren't doing a whole lot at all at the beginning of the year, but now everybody's working on moving around the fingerboard. So it's a lot of new technique, really exciting for them. So here we go with the Air. One of the other things about that piece that makes it so challenging is that all of the parts are much more independent. And so in some of the pieces that they were working on earlier, some of the pieces that you do when you're more of a beginner, there's little less independence between the parts. There's maybe 2 groups playing the same thing at the same time, or even 3 groups. Here, there was really something for each group: first, second violin, viola, cello, and bass. So it's also just a sign of their advancement in what they're doing musically. This next piece, this final piece that we're going to do, was something that I just thought would be a lot of fun. I discovered it a couple of years ago and thought, we got to find the right group to play this. And I felt like this was the right group, and I think it's really exciting. It's a fun piece to play, the Highlander. So it's got this very slow introduction, and then it goes into a section that is oriented towards Scottish fiddling. So that's a really kind of fun thing. It's got a special rhythm in it called the Scottish snap. But it was also written in memorial of a viola player, actually. It says here, the music of the Highlander tells a story of lost remembrance and celebration. Written as a tribute to a young violist, the viola part remains prominent throughout. So we're going to hear a lot from the violas, the unsung heroes. I feel strongly towards the viola since I'm a viola player. So yeah, it'll be fun. We hope you enjoy this, the Highlander. Okay, so Philharmonic Strings is going to sit down right where they are, and we're going to start bringing some more people up on stage. We're going to have all of our winds and percussion come in the back. We're going to have our violas and basses come up first. Violas and basses, come find your places. Hey, that rhymed. And my name is Chaim. And then we're going to have the violins come up to their places too. And we're going to do some shuffling. And speaking of shuffling, I'd like to thank some people here right now. We have some amazing students who obviously have done tremendous things this year, but we also have one of the most fantastic, phenomenal department assistants you'll ever find in El Wynn. So we have had such a great year. El is a graduate of Cleveland Heights High School and has been just amazing to work with. We are so blessed to have them with us. So let's give it up for El Wynn, please. And then, of course, back there, we have Mr. Stuart Ferris, who is also just so giving of his time and is a tremendous volunteer, parent of a couple of alums who are off doing great things in the world. So we have great connections to our community, and we are also blessed to have him with us. Let's give it up for Mr. Stu Ferris. I would be remiss if we did not mention also our amazing band and orchestra parent organization, BOPO. Hallelujah. Indeed. Cellos are going to come up on stage too. We just don't want people walking over cello players. As you can imagine, that could involve a lot of damage. So cellos come up last. But we really want to say how much we appreciate all the support we have from BOPO. We have some great parent volunteers. And in fact, if you are a parent of one of these students up here, technically speaking, you are a member of BOPO. And we would love to see if some of you have maybe a little more time or treasure or both that you can give to support these fantastic students, because they are your children. We love working with them. So if you find ways that you can help out, we are always appreciative. I want to say a special thank you to Rob Barr, our president. And yes, please. Alicia Evans is our treasurer. We also have a fabulous array of people who are our committee coordinators. Shirley Walker did our tour this year. She did a fantastic job. We've just had some wonderful volunteers throughout the year. So if you want to help out, please do. And finally, I would like to also thank two people over here. Dr. Marzola, Dr. Nick Marzola, obviously the band director, fabulous colleague, wonderful to work with. Thank you, Dr. Marzola. And over here, also in darker clothing, we have Mr. Tim McDonald doing leads tonight. I think they like him. Yeah, Tim is a great guy, also an alum of Cleveland Heights High, great saxophone player, jazz musician, etc. And he also works over at Oxford. Yeah. All right, so let's give it up for Tim. All right. So we've assembled now to do our final piece, the sword dance. This one is going to be a lot of fun. Everybody has done such great work, and I'm not going to talk any more about it. Enjoy.
Sit down. You didn't know this was coming.
We have one more thing that we need to do at this time of year. For some people on this stage, this is the last concert of their high school career. For some of these students who are 12th graders, they may have just played their last notes at Cleveland Heights High School. So we would like to honor those 12th graders, okay, all of our seniors. We would like you to stand up and come to the front so that you can take a bow. Let's go, seniors. I know we have some. Congratulations, class of 2025. Now we will also take some time to honor these students at our awards night. We hope you will all come. And of course, all of you are invited as well to awards night. We'll be letting students know if they are receiving an award that night in advance too. So all of you 12th graders, it has been a pleasure working with you. Some of you still have a few more notes left to play, so we won't call it yet. But thank you so much for all you've done. And we appreciate the hard work that you've done and your contributions to this department. So one more time for class of 2025. All right, we have another concert tomorrow. If you'd like to, come on out. It's also free. And right now we also have a reception over yonder. So come and join us. We'd love to see you over there. All right, thank you.